It was late August and the sun was falling, the summer was finishing, everyone was going back to school, and I was unemployed. No return offer, no backup plan, just a looming spreadsheet and a sinking feeling that I was already behind. I told myself I'd treat this like my full-time job. So every day I made a schedule, I sat down, and I spent a good chunk of time applying to roles and writing cover letters and resumes. In terms of the roles I was applying to, they fell into a few categories. First was brand or marketing associate roles at CPG, tech, and retail. Second was strategy analyst or business analyst roles. Third were rotational or new grad programs with structured training. Fourth were some consulting firms that were still hiring because a lot of the big ones were already done hiring that had hired over the summer. And fifth, some random roles that's just aligned with my previous experience. Hey guys, I'm going to give you guys some tips on how I actually find jobs. So one of the things you should do is start off by writing down and doing research on different types of roles that you would be interested in. After doing that, I would definitely do further research on what companies hire or are known for having those roles. And then I would go onto the company websites to add myself onto their email list to see when those roles open. You can also speak with associates currently at the firm or other past interns to learn more about the recruitment process or timelines, or you can search about the recruitment timeline by searching up the name of the role type that you're interested in. And this is really important because different roles will open up and start hiring at different times. For example, if you're doing investment banking, then these firms will usually hiring well in advance of when the internship actually starts. So you don't want to miss those hiring timelines because that's the biggest mistake that can happen. You won't even get to shoot your shot. I also like to use different Slack and Discord groups for students and grads. To be frank, I do not use this as much, but sometimes there's hidden job drops and a network of students who you can connect with and work on the interview process together. You can also reach out to past coworkers and interns and ask them if their team is hiring again, just to kind of see if there's maybe some internal roles that they can refer you to or anything like that. And then I would also check your school job board. One of the biggest things I love about being a student is that you have your internal job board for your school. If you don't know where that is, definitely check in with your career advisor and just keep an eye out on that. I think the job source was my biggest source of where I found my jobs. I think you guys are probably wondering, okay, what about LinkedIn? But I like to only use LinkedIn as a source of research, as a place where I can find different opportunities. And then when I actually apply, I'll go onto the actual company website to apply, because half the jobs on LinkedIn are like actually scams or they're not even hiring at all. And so that's why I really don't suggest applying through LinkedIn, but try to find the role which will be open on the company website itself and apply through there, because sometimes also LinkedIn applications won't get looked at by the recruiter. So one of the first roles I actually applied to was this brand strategy role at a big consumer packaged goods company. And the reason why I decided to apply to it was because I felt that I had done very similar roles in the past and worked in similar industries. So I thought I was more than qualified for the role. On top of that, I had attended I got an invite to one of their events that happened in August, which was really fun. It was this big networking event with food and prizes at the end. And I actually won like this big tote bag of things that they gave out. So that was really cool because I did not expect to win. But on top of all of this, I thought that I would be set for this role because I had applied for it for the third year internship, and I went to the second round interview that time, so I thought I could use the same resume and apply again. But this time, 2 weeks passed and nothing. Dead silence, no rejection email, nothing. I had to find out that I didn't get an interview when talking with several friends. You know when you have friends who are also in the interview process and then you discuss with them and one of them tells you, yeah, they got an interview. And then you check your email and you refresh constantly and you don't get one. And that's what happened to me. I realized I waited, one more day and I still didn't get anything. I had a little bit of hope that it was rolling interviews, but I didn't see anything even the next day. So I kind of gave up. But it was very discouraging to think that I wasn't able to get even the interview this time around, which could have been due to several factors, either that there were a lot more people applying for full-time jobs, or they were looking for different skill sets for full-time jobs, or there's some rule where you can't apply again within a year if you've applied for internships. Not too sure. Overall, it definitely hurt because it was a role that I was genuinely very interested in. Next, I applied to EY Consulting, which is basically a professional services firm out of the Big Four, and they had limited roles available. I really wanted to do the business consulting role, but it wasn't available because they took in a lot of interns for the role and were rehiring a good amount. So instead, I decided to apply for the people advisory role. Even though there was a part of me that felt like I wasn't that strong of a fit, I still applied for it. Weeks passed again, and I also heard nothing. I felt discouraged yet again. Yet again, I had to find out from a friend that I did not get the interview. So the next firm I applied to was actually this strategy role at a boutique consulting firm, which I was really excited about. I had attended one of their networking events around 3 or 2 weeks earlier, and I got to learn a lot about their values and what they were kind of looking for in candidates. Apparently, they really cared about the cover letter and drafting the cover letter well. So I spent literal days working on this cover letter, making sure that it was telling a clear story, I was articulating my experiences and my whys, and that it was very authentic and genuine. And then a few days later, I was able to get an email that said I received the interview. I was really excited because it felt like all the rejection was finally leading somewhere. And so I really dedicated a few days to just prep for the interview. If you don't know what the consulting interview process is like, usually the interview will be like 2 or 3 different rounds, and each round will consist of part 1 behavioral and part 2 case study. What a case is, you're basically trying to work with the interviewer to solve a business problem. For example, a very simple one is profit is decreasing, and then you'll be taken through like a series of structuring, mental math, brainstorming, and conclusion. It's basically to test how you would approach a problem for a client, and then some other skills such as your communication, your problem solving, your analytical thinking. Those kind of cases are very hard to know the actual exact question just because every case is so different. And so when you are prepping and practicing for them, the only thing you can practice are the soft skills, like the communication, the problem solving, the synthesis. Like, it's not like finance prep where you can actually memorize and practice different technical questions that can come up, if that makes sense. So I think that's like where it adds in a bit of trickiness in the prep, but it's also really fun just to get like a new problem each time. So I was doing all this practice, and then the day of the interview came up. I was very nervous, but also really excited because I was seeing hope. And I remember walking into our Abbey building, which is where the interviews were being conducted in person. And I met with 3 different people. I met with like the director, who we had like a little mini chat with. And then I met with the associate, who gave me some behavioral questions. And then I met with the consultant who was testing me on the case. It was really funny because when I was telling them my answer to tell me about yourself, they were like, oh yeah, you were the one who wrote about this in your cover letter. And it was really like amazing how they were able to remember not only my cover letter, but associate me with it. Okay, but anyways, the interview ended and I walked out of there just like feeling so unsure and / uncertain. I don't know if you guys ever feel this way, but there are times when you're like 100% sure when you nail the interview, but there are also times where you're like, I don't know, because there's like, you don't think you've bombed it, you don't think you've done bad, but there's like uncertainties, right? Sometimes the interviewer also keeps such like a straight dead face that you have no idea like what they're thinking, which is the point. But I definitely feel like there were some things I could have done better in that interview. I think I got really nervous and I needed a little bit of guiding in the case. And also I think like there were some minor math mistakes. In addition to that, I felt like I didn't really vibe with the director, so that could have been something that she could have used against me when debating candidates. The smallest thing can make or break your chances in interview processes, and you never know. Unfortunately, I did get an email a week later that said I did not make it to the next round. And I felt sad, but I understood that there was a reason behind it, to not take it too personally and to learn from it, to move on to the next thing. Even though it was like a lost opportunity, I was still optimistic because it was still very early in the recruiting process, and there were many more opportunities upcoming. But it was still unfortunate, and it was very, very pressuring on myself because I felt like I was on a timeline and I had to secure something ASAP.